Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and my cozy corner of YouTube. So let's sit down and have a deep and meaningful chat. You know I love my D&Ms. I'm really excited to film this video for you today. I'm going to be sharing with you 5 key lessons that I've learned over the past year that have really contributed to my emotional maturity. I'm excited to share this with you, so let's get right into it. So a few years ago, I worked for an organization that held monthly town halls. These were basically events where exec members and senior leaders would invite all the staff to kind of come together once a month, and they would give some updates around what was happening in the business, what the priorities were, and how we were tracking as an organization. My colleague and I in my team both attended the town hall together. There were a few speeches and stuff, and afterwards we ended up catching up to debrief like we always do about what we thought. I personally felt generally quite positive about what was spoken about at the town hall. I was looking forward to some of the changes that the company was going to implement and some of the new areas that they were going to invest in. But I was really surprised to hear that my colleague had a completely different takeaway. She felt kind of quite pessimistic and skeptical about what they were promising to deliver, and was just feeling generally quite negative about the whole town hall event. Even though we were both sitting in the same session, we both walked away from the same event feeling completely different things, and this has happened to me multiple times. So situations like this just prove to me that your thoughts are not always reflective of what the reality is, and all of us have our own individual, unique realities. Sometimes our experience of a situation or a person can be greatly influenced by things like our values, our beliefs, and our life experiences. And this concept always reminds me to take a step back and review my assumptions about things. And particularly for me, this applies to the work situation. I remember when I was in my 20s, I used to take everything so personally. And then I learned things like how different people have different working preferences and different ways that they prefer to communicate with each other. And just because someone works differently to me, it doesn't mean that it's always a personal attack on me and who I am or my work. I have also learned to be less influenced by those around me and to just follow my intuition more. Just because someone I know had a bad experience with something, it doesn't mean that I will. And just because someone says that that's the way something is, it's not always representative of what reality might be. And it's just, I think I've just realized the main thing is that we all perceive the world through our own lens and through the differences that make us who we are. Sounds kind of philosophical, but is there even a reality? So I encourage you to ask yourself this. Number 1, what thoughts cause you worry and anxiety? And number 2, who and where do these thoughts come from? Because I genuinely believe sometimes these negative thoughts or even things like limiting beliefs come from other people and things that other people have said to us or other people's opinions that we've kind of subconsciously adopted as our own. So I think it's important to reflect on those things. So last year was actually a huge year for me because I started a new job while planning my wedding. I also had periods throughout the year where some of the worst family drama happened during the busiest periods of wedding planning. Then towards the end of the year, we had a lot of social events kind of one after the other. There was birthdays, there was my hens, Richard had his bucks party, we had like catch-ups and dinners with friends and family. So it was a pretty hectic kind of end of the year. And then of course, our actual wedding was in November. So the wedding was actually one of the best days of my life. I had so much fun. All our family and friends attended, and there were some minor hiccups, but overall the day actually went really well considering that we had zero experience wedding planning and it was our first time doing everything. And so it turned out really well, but there were definitely stressed and difficult times leading up to the actual day, especially 4 weeks leading up to the wedding. That period, there was just lots of emails back and forth between us and suppliers, and we had to make a lot of final decisions on things. And of course, we had to pay final invoices for a lot of our suppliers because a lot of the payments are due 4 weeks before the wedding. For me, especially towards the end of the year, it would have been really easy to let those kind of basic good habits slip, and this would have a really big effect on me just taking care of my basic needs. But I realized it was especially during these chaotic moments that I really needed to engage in those basic habits and make sure I make time for them to stay really grounded and make sure that I'm looking after my health during really stressful and busy times. Even though it wasn't always perfect, obviously. I had days where I missed working out or didn't eat the best. I really tried to stick to these things. Number 1 was staying hydrated all throughout the day. Number 2 was exercising regularly. I think at one point, instead of doing the usual 30 minutes, I even cut down to 20 minutes, but I still tried to stick to about 3 times a week. Plus some walks with my dog Leo, which was enough for me. Number 3 was continuing to meal plan and meal prep. So you've probably heard of this before if you've watched my previous videos. Rich and I like to get groceries done every weekend and set out Sunday afternoons to just cook our lunches for the week and at least have an idea of what we're eating for dinner every night for the rest of the week. So we tried really hard to stick to that routine and not let that slip. And then finally, I have always been a girl that needs 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I cannot function on less, so I really tried to stick to this as well. I think by ensuring that my basic needs were met, this gave me the kind of energy that I needed to be a bit more resilient and deal with some of the stresses that came with a lot of those things. So remember, you can't always control the environment and what's happening around you and what things get thrown at you, but you can really make an effort to take small steps to look after your well-being and really prioritize that when the going gets tough. So if this video has come at a time where you are going through a bit of a hectic period, maybe it's a good time to do some reflection and check in with yourself and ask, what does your body need right now? Yes, I am moving around my house to keep things interesting and testing out different angles because the natural lighting is amazing today. Anyway, during my 20s, another thing that I was really guilty of doing is oversharing a lot of things about my life, especially when it came to starting this YouTube channel. I noticed I would always keep discussing it with family and friends over and over again, but never actually take tangible steps to get the channel started. I would talk about the camera gear that I was going to buy and what camera I was looking at, how I was going to brand the channel, names for my channel, why I really needed to start this channel, and I would also talk a lot about how I really needed to start the channel. During that time, I also really struggled to fit into some of the corporate jobs that I had, and I was always daydreaming about being a full-time content creator and successfully starting a really good YouTube channel. So there are studies that show that if you keep talking about your goals to other people, it actually creates the illusion that you've already achieved them, which is scary because it makes you feel like you've made progress and started on something when you actually really haven't. Over the years of maturity, I've learned to keep more things privately to myself, especially when it comes to things like goals and things that I want to achieve. And this doesn't mean to never talk about your dreams and your goals with people around you, especially family and friends. I think it's healthy to be having these conversations with the people that you trust and to be getting advice from people if that's what you need. But there's definitely a pattern. I think I noticed it earlier when I'm just constantly talking about something, and when I reflect back on, say, like the past month, and I ask myself, have I actually taken any action to move myself closer towards these dreams? And if the answer is no, then I know that I'm probably just talking a lot and oversharing a lot. Now, I much prefer to hold on and share things when I've actually achieved them. This might be getting a new job with better pay and benefits. It might be buying big, large and expensive items, or even booking a really nice holiday somewhere. So maybe check in with yourself right now. Has there been anything that you've noticed, maybe that you've overshared before the timing is right? Speaking of less talking and more doing, this leads nicely to my next point. So the most relevant example I can share for this point also has to do with my YouTube channel. Not only did I spend years talking about it, I also spent time and money planning the channel itself. I would buy courses to learn how to use DSLR camera properly. I would buy planners to try and be more productive and plan out my time in a better way. And of course, I would get sucked into the rabbit hole of watching other people's YouTube videos about starting a channel. And I think the credit definitely goes to Ali Abdul, which is one of my favorite productivity YouTubers, and because he made me realize that when you start, barely anyone watches your videos anyway, and the only way to actually get better is to start. You can't improve on something unless you've taken that first step and started the journey. I guess I finally got to a point where I was tired of the illusion of making progress. Consuming a lot of personal development and productivity content wasn't actually helping me get better at things like talking to the camera, writing a script, editing my videos, designing my thumbnails, and all of the things that come with starting a channel. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely a time for analysis and planning, but a lot of us, I find, get really stuck at these beginning phases of projects, and we become too nervous or scared to actually apply the theory into practice. So ask yourself this right now. What's one thing you've been spending too much time analyzing and planning for? And what's one action that you can take today or tomorrow that's going to move you closer towards your goals? So I used to have a friend that I knew who would constantly complain to me about things happening in her life. One day it was about her job, so being underpaid and overworked and not fulfilled. And then another day it was something in her personal life, not getting along with family or not having any luck in the dating market trying to find someone. And my issue was totally not the fact that she needed to vent. I think venting is healthy every now and then with people that we trust, and it's absolutely necessary for us to process our emotions and things that are happening in our life. But it was more the pattern of why me and why do things happen to me, and just, I guess, not being in the driver's seat and just sitting in victim mentality. So I did a little Google search, and I thought the Very Well Mind, the website, actually has a really good definition of victim mentality. So I'm just going to share this with you. People with a victim mentality feel as though bad things keep happening and the world is against them. They may feel as though everyone else is against them, be that their partner, co-workers, or even family and friends. Although yes, there are definitely things in life that are beyond our control, there are also definitely things that are within our circle of influence and things that we have an ability to make changes on. Starting from things like our own mindset, behaviors, and actions. If you've noticed yourself adopting a bit of a victim mentality in your life, I would really encourage you to take a step back and have a think about these questions. What areas of my life could I start taking more responsibility for? How might I be contributing to the problem or issue? What are the things that I actually cannot change, and how do I make peace with this? What are the things that I have power to control and influence? And of course, practicing gratitude is always important. So thinking about what are the things that are going well in my life at the moment. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the 5 lessons that I shared today, and I hope that they have inspired you to do some reflection. You know, I love sharing life lessons and things that I've learned in life. This is what this channel is all about. In my next video, I'm actually going to be sharing with you one quote that has really stuck with me since I discovered it. It's basically going to become my life motto, I think, because it's been that impactful. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you in my next video. But until then, I shall love you and leave you here, and I'll see you next time.